Here you are, Mr. Runt.
Thanks.
Good morning, Mr. Runt. The man you're looking at you're in big trouble. He's an international accounting terrorist who's been engaged by a consortium of private companies to sabotage the FASB's new lease standard. As you are aware, Mr. Runt, the FASB has made a commitment to transparency by requiring that essentially all leases be capitalized on the balance sheet. Next week, the FASB is presenting a worldwide webcast to help CPAs with implementation of the new standard. But we have learned that you're in big trouble, and his assistant, Nadja Good Idea, plan to hijack that broadcast in order to cause chaos and confusion in the accounting industry. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to find Urin and Nadja and shut down their sabotage plan to ensure that the webcast goes on as planned so that the standard is properly understood. Oops, how did that get in there? Never mind. This message will self-destruct in 10 seconds.
So Nadja, I want update on webcast sabotage project.
But I am hungry. When can we eat?
Soon. I know food is on the way. Show me what broadcast will be.
Okay. I have created on Power Pitch presentation. Look. The first step in applying the new lease standard is to properly identify the lease. That should be the simplest place to confuse the practitioners.
Don't be silly. You have a piece of paper. It says lease. Even American accountants not that stupid.
Does that piece of paper convey the right to control the use of an asset for a period of time for consideration?
I see, and the customer would have to obtain substantially all the economic benefits of the asset.
And for it to qualify as a lease, the customer would have to be able to direct the use of the asset.
Okay, so what is planned to confuse them with our CPE webcast?
You see, this is the brilliant part. The AICPA has already developed this lease determination chart to assist with identification of the lease.
So you're going to show this in our webcast?
Da!
Why would we show such great graphic in CPE?
We spend so much time on it that they are bored and sleep the rest of presentation.
So they learn nothing, and there's no evidence of what we did. Nadja, you're brilliant.
Yes, I know. And very hungry too.
Ah, food is here.
Where's Ethan?
He was on his way when his tracker went dead, but I wouldn't worry.
So what do you know about this assignment?
From what I can tell, the practitioners are able to separate the components of a lease and get them classified as operating or finance.
Makes sense. The classification process is pretty close to the old rules.
But then they're getting bogged down in the initial measurement phase.
Okay, so we need them to set up both a right-of-use asset and a liability at the commencement of the operation. Lease.
So we start with the liability, which is measured at the present value of the lease payments, not yet paid, using an appropriate discount rate.
Why not start with the asset?
Because the liability is the base for calculating the right-of-use asset.
So then you would add any payments prior to the commencement date because those would not be in the liability.
But reduce them by any incentive, and then you add in any initial direct costs, and you're ready to go.
We'll need to ensure that they include any optional periods and purchase options that are reasonably certain to be exercised. Have we been compromised?
No, it looks like Ethan. What's he doing?
Ethan, what happened to you?
Sorry I'm late. Got a little tied up. Help? Anybody?
Ethan, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. I'm headed to the top.
Our intel suggests this is a satellite dish they will use to send their own webcast message. We just saw someone suspicious go into the elevator. They seem to be plotting to confuse the periodic treatment.
There's not too much they can do with the finance lease. It's much too similar to the old capital lease.
Recognize the interest and the amortization. So maybe they'll concentrate on the operating lease.
Maybe. That's the one that has everyone confused already.
How are you doing?
Okay.
So for an operating lease, they will have a single straight line expense over the lease term.
Yes, and unlike the prior rule, you can't simply expense the lease payment.
The new expense is based on the total cost of the lease.
Ethan, where are you?
I've made it to the top. There's a suspicious looking guy. Hey you, stop!
Where is it? Where are they hijacking the satellite dish? Tell me!
Ethan, what's wrong?
It's no use. I can't get him to talk.
It's worse than we expected. Not only are they going to sabotage the webcast tomorrow, but now they're plotting to handle a purchase option incorrectly.
Well, when you have a purchase option that is reasonably certain to be exercised, you would only amortize the right of use asset over the life of the asset.
But that would mean that at the purchase date, the right of use asset would still have value.
Exactly, and that amount would be transferred at the time to a tangible asset classification.
Is Ethan ready yet?
He's in the bathroom finishing his disguise. Ethan, is that you?
Yes. How do you like my new high-tech facial distortion concealment unit? Pretty good, huh?
Yes, let's do this.
You need to access the main server so you can get the coordinates to their satellite dish so we can go shut it down. The server should be about 100 feet directly in front of you. You know we have to properly handle the lease impairment.
Well, the impairment will not change the overall cost of the lease, simply the timing.
Yes, you must write down the asset at the time of impairment and then recalculate the new straight line expense for the remaining period.
I found the server, and I'm preparing to extract the information now. Can you give me the coordinates to the main satellite?
Certainly. Here. Would you care for an hors d'oeuvre, sir?
Thank you.
It's almost time to hijack their webcast meeting. Then practitioners will have no idea how to handle a lease modification. Ready?
Setting up satellite dish now. This can be a very dangerous situation for them if the modification does not result in a separate contract.
Yes, it's very risky. It can cause a change in the lease term or assessment of the purchase option.
Ah, but that's not all, darling. What about changes in residual guarantees or resolution of variable payments?
True. I'll reallocate the remaining consideration and remeasure the liability using the current rate.
But what about the asset?
We'll adjust that as if there is an additional right, change in terms, or change in consideration.
You're a genius, Joran!
Hurry, Ethan! They've already activated the satellite dish.
I'm going. Stop!
You're too late.
But you forgot one very important element.
What's that? I can't do it. Can you?
He did it!
Yes!
Technical difficulties. So do we send everyone to a breakout session or something now?